Seattle News Weekly from Fox 13.
Hello and welcome to Seattle News Weekly. I'm David Rose, and this is a podcast where we examine some of the biggest stories of the week here in Washington. I'm pleased to have correspondent AJ Janavel, who is with us today. AJ is just back from Ridgefield, Washington.
That's right.
What happened in Ridgefield, Washington?
Well, we know all about it. There's a new burger stand in town, and guess what I brought?
In and out.
No, but I got a hat for us. David, I was watching the clip yesterday with you and Hannah.
Uh-huh.
She was so excited when you said burgers were coming.
Yes, it was good.
It was a heartbreak when I didn't have any for her.
So our state got its first In-N-Out burger. This was huge news all over the state. AJ went down to cover it, and you met people from everywhere, people who literally waited multiple hours to get a burger, some fries.
A shake even?
Have
you had In-N-Out?
I love In-N-Out. So here's the thing. Whenever we go to visit my parents in Dallas, before we even get to my mom's house, this is so bad, we stop at In-N-Out on the way.
You have to. It's kind of like a welcome home.
It is so good. What was your impression of how excited they are down there? Because it looked to me like it was just nuts.
You know what's interesting about this area? If you don't know Ridgefield, and if you're up in this area, I feel like that's fair not to know Ridgefield. Mm-hmm. It is under construction. It is completely just developing. You have this shopping center, massive, that is a ghost town because it's under construction. You have the anchor stores, the Costco, and an In-N-Out. What better way to bring people from the Portland area and the Seattle in these two spots? And there were people that came from not just Washington or Oregon, from the entire country. There were Grateful Dead. Think of Grateful Dead level followers for the double and animal style fries there.
That's so good. All right, we've got a story that you filed last night. We're going to share that now with those viewers who are watching and those listening on the podcast. So here is AJ Janavel at the grand opening of the In-N-Out. We're going to take clip 3.
History in Washington, the first ever In-N-Out opens its doors in Ridgefield, and people are coming from across not just the state, but the country to get a burger. How's that drive?
Yeah, 2 hours, yeah.
How is the 2 hours in the car 1 month out from being a mom?
It's not too bad until you hit a bump.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up?
Lloyd, you came from Vancouver?
Yeah, Washington.
Not the BC one.
Yes, 61 and 74, please. 61 and 74.
We've been waiting because originally we're from California. Now we don't have to fly home to go get it.
When's the last time that you had it?
Oh my goodness.
Probably before COVID, actually. It's been a long time.
That was my first time.
I grew up with it. My parents actually used to be managers down in Arizona, so they used to open up all the stores.
We're super excited to be here. Our first location, our 9th state.
Look at this. Here's the origins of In-N-Out. The founders, Harry and Esther, met at Fort Lawton. You know where that is? Magnolia, Seattle.
It's a lot less chaotic than I thought it was going to be.
Opening on the first day, it's a little crazy.
What's your order?
We got 8 double-doubles.
I got double.
The famous old double-double.
Probably double animal style.
2 animal fries.
And I tell you what, boys, I'm getting ready to go animal style here, yeah.
I asked the staff to recommend me what I should try. I got 2 to 4x4 burgers.
Look at that. 4 patties right there. 8 patties total.
It was good. I like this more than the burger.
Who's your burger daddy?
What do you think, In-N-Out or Dick's?
Ooh, honestly, I prefer Dick's.
You're a real
I know.
Okay, and check this out, a very own Washington State In-N-Out shirt, brand new. This will be the only one the state gets. But if you don't want to make the drive all the way down from the Seattle area to Ridgefield, because believe me, it's a little bit of a drive, don't worry, you can get this shirt online. We'll have more information on fox13seattle.com.
All right, so a lot of stuff to unpack there.
Yeah. I think my favorite line of that whole thing was, "Who's your burger daddy?" Now, I think there's a lot of things that were so interesting about that specific story, but the biggest takeaway, I would say, honestly, is for me, you go to Los Angeles, you go down to California, you get in and out because I think it's synonymous. LA County, in and out.
Yeah.
To hear that the founders met in Magnolia at Fort Lawton in 47.
We learned so much in your story. We had no idea there were ties to Washington State.
How cool
that
is
was
that?
really cool. The shirt you have here is going to be a collector's item
I
at
hope
some
so.
point. People, and I know we talked to one man who he has every one. I think he's gone everywhere to get them. But I want to talk to you about some of the information that you got when you were down there. I hear there's a secret menu.
Oh, yeah.
What is this secret menu?
You know about the secret
tell me
menu. You know about it.
So everybody orders a double-double. I'm a 2 single guy.
Okay.
I don't want it all in one double-double. I'm not going to eat 2 double-doubles. Not that much of a pig.
Did you see the guy with the 4x4?
He didn't finish that, did he?
I laughed.
Yeah.
That guy's a food blogger. I said, Steven.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Because he's from Seattle. He had to drive back up.
That's how big this was. Food bloggers were down there covering this. What are some of the secret menu items? And I think you're even going to post a story on our website,
We're digging into
fox13seattle.com.
I think what's so cool is you go in there and the actual menu is 4 things. It's like cheeseburger, hamburger, double. But they have so many variations that they can do with your burger. If they have the ingredients there, they'll essentially do it. And so people have made their own favorites. The one that sticks out to me is protein style, which is essentially a lettuce wrap, an In-N-Out lettuce wrap. But you can get onions instead of burger patties. You can get tomatoes instead of burger patties. You can get them to put mustard on the burger and then fry it down. Of course, the animal style. Yeah.
Yeah, I might be down for that. That's good.
The fries.
What is animal style?
Oh, that's the onions. That's that secret special In-N-Out.
Yeah.
The sauce. How you get your fries done?
Yeah.
You can go and be like, hey.
Yeah. You looked like you worked there. I mean,
People were
fit
asking
right
me.
in.
They were saying, excuse me, where do we get in line?
Right.
And I said, right over there.
Yeah.
And then they left. I was like, oh, I don't work here. Well.
Yeah. I can't believe you jumped in that guy's car.
Yeah. The best part was his driver's side was on the right. So it was just perfect for me to hop right in.
I saw that. I was like, did the video get reversed? That was very weird.
I heard everyone was like, what's going on?
Yeah, I know. What's happening? So I know the answer to this, but I want to hear you say it.
Okay.
How successful do you think this In-N-Out will be? Asking that because do you think it will then push further up into our area up here in the Seattle area?
You know, it's hard. Upcoming businesses to make it in a city.
Yeah.
It's just, no.
Yeah.
People came from across the country, at least, I can say that. But even when I go down to California to get a burger where it's been for decades, the lines are still out the door. So I think that Ridgefield is maybe struck gold.
So my hope, exactly. I mean, it's putting Ridgefield on the map. So my hope is that by extending their supply line now into Washington State, this will show, hey, we can get there. Why can't we go in and get into Puyallup, get into Seattle, get into Bellingham, and slowly start working, its way north so that we don't have to drive 3 hours to go get a double-double.
You know, there's a burger joint locally that I don't know how they'd feel about In-N-Out making their way that far.
Well, we saw what happened with Chick-fil-A, right? So, I mean, those things have taken over everywhere. So, well, anyway, you did a great job. I want you to take your In-N-Out hat off because we're going to talk about something else.
Under the table, changing gears.
Yeah, exactly. AJ had a really busy week this week. In addition to what was great coverage yesterday all day long on our broadcast and on our web, you covered some big stories this week. So I want to talk about the fight between Washington State and the federal government. So Pam Bondi, the U.S. Attorney General, she came out firing not just at Washington State, not just at Seattle, but at 32 different cities and states around the country for not helping the federal government and not adhering to helping them deport illegal immigrants, to crack down on illegal immigration. So they came out firing, saying that they're going to cut the funding to states like ours, if essentially our state doesn't get in line and start helping them in their mission to deport illegal immigrants. So here I want to take a listen at what Pam Bondi had to say. Let's do that first, and let's go to clip 2.
We are going to send in law enforcement just like we did during the LA riots, just like we're doing here in Washington, D.C. If you're not going to do your job, we're going to do it for you to keep our citizens safe.
All right, so that is Pam Bondi there saying essentially they might send in the National Guard, just like they did in Washington, D.C. They're threatening to do it in Boston. They're threatening to do it in New York City. But then you were in Olympia when Governor Bob Ferguson came out. And he has a long history of suing the Trump administration. I think he's won 55 lawsuits.
That's exactly right.
Right. So he comes out looking about as fired up as I think I've ever seen him, So let's, you got some sound with him, so let's listen to what Governor Ferguson had to say, and we will go to clip 1.
Let me be very clear. Washington State will not be bullied or intimidated by threats and legally baseless accusations. I can assure you, I am prepared to defend Washington from any litigation the Trump administration wishes to pursue. If they choose to challenge me and my state, we will defeat them and seek all appropriate costs and fees.
All right, so there you have it, Governor Ferguson. You were at that news conference. What didn't we see? What can you tell us about what happened there, the people that were standing behind him, et cetera?
Well, I think first off, the word you used when we started this office was fight, right? And it really is a fight. You have the U.S. Attorney General versus our governor, who is the former state attorney general. So these guys know what they're talking about. They have legal backgrounds. And so when you have these two legal experts going against each other, they're taking shots. Governor Ferguson basically saying Bondi's letter to the state has nothing specific mentioned. When you're taking legal action, you're threatening to take some sort of legal action, you reference cases. You say in regards to what happened previously. And he's saying that he feels at this point it's just posturing, it's just a threat. We had, as you saw there, so many people during that press conference. I don't know if you noticed the mayor of Seattle in the back of that shot we just saw. Seattle also received a similar letter. In fact, Mayor Bruce Harrell saying it was identical, the letter word for word, except his name was where
the letter that Pam Bondi said, "This stops now."
Exactly. And the wording of both letters is very, very direct. There's no questions of what they're saying. You have the U.S. Attorney General saying to Washington, if you guys don't stop what you're doing right now, you could face criminal charges, whatever that could look like. You're talking about bringing in the U.S. Guard. So that is a vague threat, but a very direct one, saying you could face criminal charges and you could face a loss of funding. When you consider that the state gets billions of dollars of funding, the governor's saying it's more than 20% of the state's budget comes from federal dollars. The impacts of what is being alluded to, not directly stated, could be massive for Washington.
Well, you point out this is a political battle. You know, we don't know the legalities of what Trump could even do, but there are Republicans like Jim Walsh from Aberdeen who says, why not just cooperate them? Why punish Washington State? Why not tell them or give them access to the prisons and the jails to see if there are illegal immigrants who are criminals, who are there, who will need to be deported? In fact, ICE just put out a tweet this week showing a child predator, a convicted child rapist that they just arrested, who has been in Washington State since 2007, after not leaving when his visa expired. So it makes you wonder how many others are out there. So Jim Walsh's point from the Republican side is, why are you going to punish us financially like this when you can just cooperate with federal law? But the Democrats, I hate to say they're reveling in this, but this has given them something to sink their teeth into. They love nothing more than to go after Trump, to take on Trump. So there's no way they're going to back down on this. You know, ultimately, does it end up in the Fifth Circuit Court down in San Francisco? That court is very liberal. And so I'm sure that Ferguson is saying, yeah, I can win these because, you know, they've shown. 55. Yes, and they've shown to support that. You know, then it would have to go to the Supreme Court. So I think the ball is in Pam Bondi's court now. You know, they have stood their ground and said, we are not going to be bullied. We're not going to be pushed around. So we'll have to see, you know, what comes next. And essentially, for those not familiar, when the Right to Work Act came in to protect immigrants who came here and stayed or even here undocumented, it protected their jobs and that they couldn't be, this is a sanctuary state, they're safe here, right? And partly that was because they want law enforcement to let them know you can cooperate with us. We're not going to deport you, you know, so that they can develop those relationships. But it prohibited the feds from looking at any of the, for example, King County law enforcement systems. So the feds have no access anymore to, say, the King County Sheriff's Office system. So let's say you're in the car, right, and you're a deputy and you're typing up, you run their information. Well, it doesn't come up their immigration status. They don't even know what the immigration status is. And even if they did, the feds now have no access to that computer program. So they're talking about that kind of cooperation. And it's a lot of information sharing. But at the end of the day, I don't see anything changing here, but it will be interesting because we've seen that when you push Trump up against a wall, he fights back, right? So I don't think we're done with this. Do you?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
And I think you have to expect some sort of action in whatever capacity it looks like. If you're looking at a spectrum, a scale, that could be something to the effect of another letter, or you see what's happening, as you mentioned already, in other parts of this country, specifically Washington, D.C. So you have a spectrum of possible responses.
Yeah. All right, so we'll continue to update that. Maybe we'll have more for you in a podcast upcoming. Now, the third story that AJ worked on this week, I was very interested in, partly because, as you know, I work on a lot of crime. I do a lot of stories with law enforcement, help catch a lot of dangerous people over the years, 1,450. And one of the best tools I've seen in our area are school resource officers, for the reason of they can develop relationships with the kids so that a lot of times they can prevent crimes before they happen because the kids get comfortable with them. They know who they are. There are people in our state that don't like guns in schools in law enforcement. They don't want officers, especially after what happened with George Floyd. Seattle pulled officers out of their schools. But since then, there's been sort of a movement to kind of make sure they're back in. Even in Seattle, you've seen them start to push back in that direction a little bit because people are still worried about school shootings and those kinds of things.
Right.
Olympia has school resource officers. Snohomish County has school resource officers. Thurston County has school resource officers. Auburn has school resource officers. But guess who won't have school resource officers when school starts? And that is schools in Pierce County.
Franklin Pierce specifically.
Why is that, AJ?
And you're talking about how controversial this topic is because you have people who want to make sure to the best of your abilities that my child is safe in schools. And we've covered here too many acts of violence that impact those kids throughout the region. So you can understand why people would want that. And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum. You have the other end of the coin, which are the people that say, do not have police officers, do not have deputies in our schools. So you have this controversial debate. Then you have Franklin Pierce. Down in Pierce County, historically have had Pierce County Sheriff's deputies going through the schools. They were planning this year to have a deputy in their school. They wanted to. That's what they tell me. But the cost, $340,000 to have 2 deputies in the school. And what the school district says is we cannot afford that. Our hope was to cut that down and have 1 deputy, at least someone. But the sheriff's office can't allow just a single deputy in a district because of safety concerns. So now what you have is a school district in that Tacoma area that will not have the school resource officers this year.
Well, there's a lot of schools that need those. There's some schools out in Graham I know of and other places that school resource officers, they can really make a connection with the community.
Right.
There's a lot of issues. I will tell you though, I was surprised to hear one group came out in fierce opposition to deputies being in the schools. They spoke out last night, and their argument, though, was that they felt like it would make it easier for law enforcement, the Pierce County Sheriff's Office, to work with ICE and go after kids in the schools. And I had not thought of that as a concern. But that concern comes from what they've heard about the current sheriff, Keith Swank, saying he would like it if he could work with ICE.
Sure.
However, he is not working with ICE. In fact, he told us in a one-on-one interview, he is not working with ICE. Deputies do not do anything with ICE, even though he would like to.
Right.
But I think there's that impression that maybe it was happening, and so they put the two fears together, right? So you've got deputies in the schools. Maybe they're going to have raids in the schools of ICE agents. To me, it's absolutely ridiculous because I see it from a different perspective.
Sure.
Because I know they're not working with ICE because I hear the frustration all the time. But there's a lot of fear in the community, and that part of it I do understand. So I think this goes back to the relationships that Keith Swank either has or doesn't have now. He's pretty combative with his own Ryan Mello, his own county executive. And I know he wants to support the federal government in their efforts, but he's following the law and not doing that. What is your impression of how he's doing in Pierce County, and whether you think the schools and the sheriff's office could come up with the extra money to put the deputies in there, or if this is just a done deal?
Well, you know what you say is everybody has their own point of view. And depending on where you lean, you're going to see things differently. But you already mentioned it. We already talked about it. There's state laws that prevent that. So if you have a sheriff that's going to push back with the governor, we were just talking about the sanctuary laws that we have in this state. On top of that, Our state has laws that prevent, and you can talk to this probably in depth, law enforcement with a student. There are restrictions in place that protect people under 18 that's not allowed, which has come up so many times in cases that we've done where law enforcement's just shrugging their shoulders saying, we know this person knows something, but legally we can't get anything out. Yep. And while it might be frustrating for some, it's the law. And if you want to break the law, you want to play that kind of game, that's a dangerous game to play. So whereas everybody has their opinions, we know what the law is.
Yeah.
So when it comes to what is going on down in a school district or the dollars that they need, we were just talking about this too. Federal money could be on the line. So to scrounge up more than $250,000, $340,000 plus to make this happen, where does that money come from? That's a question that you're going to have to either cut something else or find a way to get it.
Right.
Whether that's raising taxes or whether that's, getting rid of positions. And that's a hard ask. I don't imagine that with less than a week of school starting, they would be able to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, here's what's going to happen. Something terrible is going to happen that could have been prevented, and then everybody will yell, and why did we take officers out of the schools? And it came down to money, and then things will slowly turn back. Boy, you've had a week.
And it's only Thursday.
I know. We're still going. AJ, thanks for everything you did this week. We appreciate it. Thanks for making time for us today. I know you're busy, and I look forward to getting down there and get some in and out.
Next time I'll bring up as many burgers that'll fit in the car.
It's only good when it's fresh, man. It's only good when it's fresh. All right. Don't forget, new episodes of the Seattle News Weekly podcast come out every Thursday. You can watch them on the Fox Local app, fox13seattle.com, or on the Fox 13 Seattle YouTube channel. You can also listen anywhere you get your podcasts. And that's going to do it for now. I'm David Rose with AJ Janavel. We'll see you next week.
Got to get to my other job.
Hopefully we pay better.
Seattle News Weekly is available wherever you get your podcast.